All right, folks, thanks for tuning in again today and getting all the news that matters and giving you the insights behind those headlines. Save you doing a lot of doom scrolling for hours. We're trying to get you the items that you need and indicate you want to know about most. So in Canada, with the ongoing battle now going on between Prime Minister Carney and Donald Trump, something has come to light that one of the promises that Prime Minister Carney had made on the job front, 12,600 jobs coming related to the aircraft industry and through Saab, that's the Swedish airline manufacturing company. Well, it turns out that the jobs just aren't coming, but it's dependent on the Canadian government moving away from its commitment to a large-scale purchase of the F-35 jet and going to make a commitment to purchase 72 Gripens, that's the fighter jet made by Saab out of Sweden, and 6 surveillance aircraft. So that's a little more information coming out there than first met the eye. And the national, of course, media outlets in Canada, which are always traditionally anti-US on any number of fronts, are trying to give the politicians in Canada a bit of incentive to go with, to get away from the F-35 purchase and go with the Swedish purchase. And they're doing it by polling people. So they're taking polls of right across the country. And even for those of us who aren't experts at evaluating various types of aircraft, kind of an interesting approach to try and sway politicians to make a commitment for a multi-billion-dollar project on something as scientific and engineer related as fighter jets. So the polls are showing that Canadians are saying, yeah, let's go with the Swedish model. That's a result, of course, of ongoing, let's say, antagonism right now between Trump and Carney. Interesting that it's the Socialist Party in Canada, the NDP, where people are polling highest, saying, let's not get those F-35, let's buy the nice Volvo-sounding Swedish jets. Well, tests that have been done significantly, because credit to the government, they have got independent third-party testing over a period of a couple of years in terms of comparing the two aircraft. And what they're trying to headline here is that the Gripen aircraft are lighter and they say more agile. And that's why they should be favored over the F-35s, and also that they'll use a little less fuel for those of us who are environmentally concerned. Let's try and temper that with what are the capabilities. The reason the F-35 is heavier is because, of course, it is a stealth aircraft. It can be on the scene and going after its adversaries long before the combating fighter jets even know the stealths are there. They also carry a greater weapon payload, and they can go greater distances, which, let's face it, in Canada is a factor. So pretty interesting to see how that debate is rolling out. Scientific evidence seeming to cave way to polling, and based on how we're feeling about the fight at the political level. On the affordability side, of course, we still see that's the key and driving word when it comes to the polls. That's true in the US, it's true in Canada also. And keep in mind, and as you know, I've tried to remind people about this, the greatest single cause of inflation, there's a lot of different factors, but the greatest single cause of inflation anywhere and anytime is government spending borrowed dollars. Please keep that in mind. That reduces your buying power when government increases spending and increases spending using borrowed money. Single biggest factor to inflation, and that's why Canada's inflation numbers continue to go up. So what is the federal Liberal government in Canada doing to push back against that? Are they decreasing spending? No, the spending is increasing. And the way they're doing it, they're taking a twofold attack here. They know that the polls show people don't like the prices that they're paying at the grocery store. And so what the federal Liberals under Prime Minister Carney has just announced is a GST rebate in June, 50%. The rebate that you have been getting on groceries is going to be increased 50%. Keep in mind, it's going to be increased by the government spending borrow dollars. That means they're going to give you what looks like an increase in your rebate. At the same time, you're going to get a decrease in your purchasing power right across the board of everything because of inflation going up. So that's a 50% big jump in June. Makes you wonder if they've got an election plan coming up. 50% increase in June, 25% increase over the next 5 years. Ongoing inflationary spending there, not really a positive sign for the long term. Add to that the U.S. has announced, Donald Trump has announced 100% tariffs on all Canadian goods if Canada continues this antagonism by drawing closer to China, even on security agreements. Kind of making the Americans a little bit nervous that Canada would be much more wide open to all kinds of Chinese influence coming into Canada, and of course, sitting right next door to the U.S. You know, most countries would drool at the fact of being somewhat tied to the hip to the U.S., just in terms of customer market for all the goods alone, and 75% of everything sold in Canada, we sell to the Americans. Most countries would drool over that, but we are doing it a little differently. Prime Minister Carney mad at Trump over the tariffs, and listen, nobody likes tariffs. All of my economic studies show that tariffs are not a positive way to enhance economies across borders. I don't like them, but getting mad and shifting all your business, inflating your economy and drawing closer to one of the worst human rights violators in the world, being China, has to be questioned. People need to take a look at that. The ongoing dispute is going to affect Canadians at the border. There's a program, as we know, between Canada and the U.S., a well-developed program. I was actually able to work on that a few years ago. It's called Nexus, and it allows fast access across the border and in the lineups for your flights. Of course, it's security-based. You have to be willing to get checked out, and it takes a while to do that, but it's an amazing program. Many thousands, in fact, millions of people use it, and now Canada announcing they may be developing their own program like Nexus. Not a good idea in a time where the U.S. is doing tighter border controls on all countries, and here we've got a good working cooperative program with the U.S. and the Canadian Liberal government with their, traditionally, as we say, knickers in a knot. Looks like they're out to develop another program which is only going to impede travel for Canadians. Not a good look. Well, the Super Bowl has been decided coming up in Santa Clara, California on February the 8th. New England Patriots against the Seattle Seahawks. And again, on the political side, going to be interesting to watch what kind of reaction there is. President Trump has said he's not going to attend because, of course, the big entertainer at the halftime show is Bad Bunny. And for those of you who are my age or who were born before electricity was invented, Bad Bunny is, let's say, not a favorite of small c conservative audience, pretty radical dude. And it's also his antagonism towards Trump and many attacks politically on Trump not being favored by a lot of people. So the NFL, maybe they're trying to balance it out. Charlie Puth is going to be doing the actual national anthem. He's been accused in the past of being a Trump supporter. So politics playing everywhere, and we're going to see reactions in the stadium and also probably outside of the stadium on the choice of entertainment. Well, we'll let that turmoil kind of take care of itself. Turmoil on the markets continues because as long as there is the situation relative to the tariffs, relative to the Trump's comments about Greenland and the EU lining up against that, it creates turmoil for sure. Price of gold continues to inch upwards, a little bit more stability. Checking through with the Financial Times today, a little bit more stability in the markets, but still some softness. And that will continue until there's some kind of, it looks like there's some kind of ongoing peaceful settlement regarding the Greenland situation. And Warren Buffett's out there today, not getting any younger, but staying as smart as always. And he's basically saying, folks, steady, stay steady, play the long game. Don't go getting all volatile and thinking you got to sell this and sell that, but stay calm. So I'll let you decide if that's good advice or not. Interesting too, as we like to report what's happening on the religious persecution front around the world. You may have been following the story. Two nurses in Pakistan, two Christian nurses, Miriam Lal, 52 years old, and Narwik Aruj, and apologizing to them if I don't get the names right, not too good on my Pakistan pronunciation. She's 19-year-old nurse. 4 years ago, when they were cleaning in one of the areas, sanitizing in the hospital, and they moved some things. One of the things they moved was a text from the Quran, an Islamic text that was up on a shelf, and they moved it to clean the shelves. They were observed as doing that. They were charged with blasphemy. They were thrown in jail. The case has been going on for 4 years. There's been riots in the street, huge mobs shrieking that the two women should be killed. And the case dragged on long enough that, in fact, if they were to lose it, there wouldn't even be a chance for appeal. It could have meant long-term sentence or even, in fact, death. And just today, it's been ruled that they are acquitted. Very rare to see an acquittal against these blasphemy laws in Pakistan. So obviously, somebody praying for those nurses. And talking about the long game, for those of you who love that Wheel of Fortune stuff, Vanna White got married on the weekend. Shocked everybody. She's her fiance, John Donaldson, of 14 years. They announced their marriage, and they're going to be spinning the wheel in another way. So that's it for today, folks. Stay tuned. Give me your feedback. I like those comments. Going to be going through the mailbag a bit tomorrow, and have a great day. Thanks.